right now. There's no one in it. How's your weekend?
It was good. Tried to catch up on some sleep from the LA trip, which was pretty intense.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm excited to hear about it.
It was like, it was super, it was really good, but it was tiring. It was like being in class again.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, dude. So I signed into the meeting, right? And it wasn't on the calendar. It got removed from the calendar, but we got one person in there.
Hi, we're live.
We'll just let them know that we're waiting for people to move over to this one.
Yeah, we're waiting. We had some technical difficulties, so bear with us for just a minute. We're going to let more people sign in. So we'll give it like, I don't know, 1 to 2 minutes here. For our lone person, should we get started or wait?
We got 2 people right now. Appreciate you guys signing in. We're just trying to get everyone to move over to this live feed. So you guys can bear with us for a minute.
We had a little technical issue earlier.
Any good jokes?
Yeah. A riddle? I don't have any good riddles.
They're filtering in. We got 5 people now.
Okay.
We had 25, 27 before, so. Again, thank you, people moving over. We're just gonna give it another minute or so to see if we get some more people over here. There we go. Everyone's showing up.
Nice.
Yeah, we'll get going here in about 30 seconds, guys.
30 seconds. T minus. Are they migrating a little bit? Give it a go?
I say go for it.
Sure. All right, thanks everyone for your patience. Like I said, a little bit of technical difficulties. For those of you that migrated over, thank you. This is the AquiPor live event. We're live. This will be a session where I'm going to give a couple quick updates on the progress of the company, and then we'll kind of finish things out with Q&A. We've had a lot of early questions that have come in that we'll answer, and then as we go, feel free to ask your questions on any topic. So for those of you that are kind of new to AquiPor, I know we have a number of followers that have been following AquiPor. You're familiar with what we're doing, but there's a few of you I think that are new followers and you're new to AquiPor. So AquiPor is a material technology company. We have invented a material that goes into concrete that basically turns normal concrete into very porous, very permeable concrete material, with the end goal being, whether it's poured concrete or concrete pavers or precast, is material that can actually take on stormwater runoff on site, help mitigate urban flooding. So the main thrust of our business is really to give cities and developers a new type of concrete material that solves their stormwater runoff issues right on site. So it's kind of a little background. We are currently raising funds on Start Engine. So we have a crowdfund offering that's live at startengine.com/AquiPor. You can check out, everything that we're doing, learn more about the technology and the investment opportunity right there. So with that being said, couple quick updates. The last couple months have been busy, a lot of momentum. I think one of the most significant things that happened on the product front was very recently, about 2 weeks ago, we made a bunch of our AquiPor material and brought out a big concrete mixer truck. So one of the holy grails for us was being able to prove that we could implement our technology into a big pour-in-place mix. And obviously pour-in-place is advantageous for larger infrastructure in terms of, say, poured sidewalks, roadway shoulders, parking lots, just much bigger concrete applications. And so being able to integrate our stuff into a mix and then actually prove that it goes in almost seamlessly, you don't change anything about the mix, and then actually executing the pour, that was a big, big deal for us. So that happened about 2 weeks ago. I'm actually standing on the concrete pad, which doesn't look like much, but the significance of this goes way beyond this 200 square feet of concrete material. This was a mix design that we received from a concrete contractor who actually has a contract with an international airport. And so it was an airport runway mix design. So very strong mix. I think the slump was like 3 inches and we used really big aggregate. So again, you needed a really strong mix. And we implemented about 100 pounds of our material per cubic yard of final mix. And so this pour in total is about 7 yards. It flows water really well. And you can see the perimeter here, it's actually like flooded on the sides. So this soil, what's underneath here, does not infiltrate water very well. So of course, in a perfect world, you want to excavate down way further. You want to make sure that water has somewhere to go. But the fact that everything around here is wet, in fact pooling, and the pad is dry, it gives you some indication of the level of porosity and permeability of the material. Some other cool things about that mix, I think our 7-day break, our compressive strength was 5,500 PSI. And so we finish out, I actually believe the 28-day, so we poured this almost 4 weeks ago. The 28-day, we're gonna crush tomorrow, and we're taking bets on what the final strength is, but it's gonna be a very strong mix. And so the whole point of that is AquiPor can go into basically any mix, turn that material porous and permeable without sacrificing strength, durability, and even the density of the concrete, which is really important for concrete finishers, the guys that are actually doing the work, pouring the concrete and then finishing it. So that was a big deal on the product front. On the market development front, we recently were contacted by the Bureau of Engineering for a very large municipality on the West Coast. And they asked us to develop our own specification that can go into their approved spec list for AquiPor porous concrete. And the specific application is for sidewalks. So typically like a 2,500 PSI sidewalk mix design that we actually developed. So we wrote up our own spec and we submitted that to the city, and we're kind of going back and forth on now fine tuning the specs so that we can get it into their final specification list. The significance of this obviously is we're taking that next big step toward, citywide approved product or approved technology for AquiPor being in basically any concrete mix design that's going to go into sidewalks. This is going to take a little more time as we work through sort of what they're looking for, but once we're in the spec, this is something that could be, spec'd out on any sidewalk retrofit or new construction. And this is a big deal, especially as we aim toward pilot contracts in 2026. So on the market development front, we're excited about that. Let's come in here. Jason, we can talk about a couple other things. So I'm going to take you inside the precast shop now. And I want to show you, you can just get behind here. Another thing that we've been working on is the finish. So you pour concrete, whether it's a sidewalk or a parking lot, and how you finish that concrete is very, very important for our technology. So this is an exposed aggregate look, a very deep etch that actually facilitates much, much higher permeability. So one thing that we found, when you pour a concrete mix with our stuff, you get kind of a cream layer on top. That's kind of the cement paste. And you need to get rid of, to a certain depth, a big portion of that paste. Once you do that, you get really high permeability. So that's a really deep etch. Concrete contractors and the guys that actually pour the concrete and finish it, they're well versed on whether you acid etch or you mechanically etch the concrete with like a sandblast, or even use like inhibitor like we did on this. And so that's something that we're dialing in, and that's a really, really important part of the approved, product spec that's going to go into the approved list for cities. So these are just kind of some fine-tuned details to let people know what we've been working on. And I guess the last big announcement, and then I'll talk about what's next for us over the next, say, 6 to 12 weeks. So we're actually I'm not supposed to announce it yet, but I'm going to anyway. We were accepted into the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator. This is really exciting for us because it's one of the more prominent startup incubators, definitely on the West Coast. And we're one of 14 companies. There are a lot of companies that applied for this. We're one of 14 companies that actually were accepted into this program. And so the significance of this is the program is all about getting companies in a position to start landing pilot projects and helping navigate sort of the complexities of different agencies in Los Angeles and Los Angeles County. And there are some really big success stories of startup companies that have come out of this incubator. This, again, is a big deal for us. A lot of the companies in our cohort, they're focused on things like AI, which is obviously very popular right now, EV mobility, clean energy, all these different things. We are the only, I guess, physical infrastructure, concrete-like company that's in the incubator. And we were down there last week. The response to our technology was super, super positive. So we came back very excited about the opportunities down there. And I think it's just going to be one more step as we get in with the agencies and the decision makers down in LA. So that's a big deal. I'll share more on the program and what it means for us as we go along. But it's something that I think is definitely going to fast track us toward commercialization over the next, definitely next 12 months. As far as what's ahead of us, so right now we are actively seeking out pilot project opportunities. These range from, light vehicles to, even pedestrian applications for our pavers. And we're being very, very specific about what pilots we want to take on. We want them to be high impact. We want them to be big enough to where we can demonstrate what our technology does at scale, and then we can start building out case studies that we can present to other cities and other decision makers, as we get down the track. So we have got a lot of work ahead of us, but I think the technology, I'm confident in saying it's fully developed. There's some fine tuning that's always going to happen, but the technology is ready to go. And now we're figuring out, obviously, how we can plan for increasing the capacity. We will scale from here, but exciting things up ahead. With that, I guess we can turn to some questions.
Yeah, great. So we've got 47 watching, and the first question is, so kind of a fun question. Could you break up existing concrete and just reblend it with the aggregate?
Yeah, we certainly can. We could use that recycled concrete as an aggregate portion of a final concrete mix. So yeah, there's no reason that wouldn't work. It's all kind of the same ingredients, and we would just use that as some of the larger, aggregate portion.
That's great. Cool. Just so everybody knows, thanks for hopping in this new link, everybody. And we got some more questions coming. If you have any questions, put them in the YouTube link here in the conversation part. So the next question is going to be, will this also work in regions with heavy snowfall?
It can, but it's going to be more challenging. One of the things that we've been testing pretty extensively, and we've got good data, good in-house data on, is our material's ability to withstand freeze thaw. And so we're through one winter with a demonstration project we have out here, and it looks good, like no cracking, no deterioration. I don't want to say less confident, but I think long term it'll be really interesting to see how this material does. So in Spokane, Washington, we actually have one of the harshest climates or environments for concrete because of the high volume of freeze thaw we get. So in Spokane, you'll get a deep freeze and then the next day it'll thaw. And we get, 60, 65 of these cycles per winter. It's really hard on concrete. So we're gonna keep our eyes on both these demonstration projects, obviously, and see how it does. So to be determined, but typically, in a really deep freeze, you won't have as much issue than you would in an area that gets a freeze cycle and then it thaws, freezes and then thaws. And so to be determined, but so far, so good. Everything looks good on the durability front.
Awesome. Okay, another question here from the forums. Will tire rubber or general road dust and debris eventually plug the pores in the concrete?
What a great question. And I should have actually made this announcement when we talked about updates. We just got some third-party data back from an engineering firm that has been testing this. And what we found on average, so they did a number of tests on our paver samples and found that we're filtering or removing on average 97% of all particulate matter out of stormwater. So this includes super fine particles. Now tire wear particles, they're going to do separately. They're doing separate tests on that. And that's going to take place over the next couple weeks. But what we found is our material is actually blocking that material from going into the concrete, into the pores. Their next test they're going to do a vacuum sweep to simulate, like street cleaning and see what rate the permeability goes back to. But what we do know is this material will filter out 97% of all those particulates.
Okay, great. No particular order. Here's another question. Is there a target time frame AquiPor plans to have enough resources and partners to implement on a large scale? And what is the market strategy?
Yeah, the time frame would be yesterday. So as soon as possible, we're being strategic about how we do this. We are talking to, along with the agencies, government agencies, city decision makers, we are also talking to a number of concrete companies, both in the ready mix world as well as the precast world. And so the strategy behind that would be step one, get a pilot project that's large, right? Not a small demo, like a larger pilot project. Partner with a concrete company for that particular application, whether it's sidewalks, that would probably be a ready mix company. If it's something like pavers, that's a different partnership. But partner with them and then prove the viability of the technology and that particular project, and then lead into some type of right, whether it could be an exclusive right of some sort or even a licensing agreement with those stakeholders, and then scale up from there. I think that's kind of the approach. And I think we'll have a lot more visibility on what that's going to look like as we get into the front end of 2026 and these conversations sort of advance. But I think step one is landing that first sizable pilot project.
Okay, great. Another great question is, since this is a new innovation, have you considered the life expectancy of your product? And to that, like, what is the curing time and strength percentage rating of the product?
We have considered that. It'll be hard to really determine what that is until we have projects in the ground for years, but based on the testing, this should last as long as, or longer than even traditional concrete. The curing time is no different. Now, we can actually speed up the cure of a concrete mix based on the percentage of our stuff that we use in the mix. And then there's some other kind of tricks we can use that are proprietary. But all that to the side, this should cure at the same pace as normal concrete. And then in terms of strength, that can be optimized. So depending, again, on the mix design, it can be 2,500 PSI for a sidewalk, or if you need 8,000 PSI for heavy vehicular roadway application, we can do that. So it totally can be optimized based on the use case, and we have really good data that's now supporting that. So it's a pretty versatile technology in that respect.
Awesome. Okay, and thanks people who've just jumped into the conversation here. We're just answering questions. If you have any, put them in the YouTube comments here in the live chat. Mike here says, I don't quite understand the pavers. Doesn't water just go between regular pavers anyway? The permeable concrete pads seem like where the impact would be.
Yeah, I agree with that. And there's actually, that's a profound statement in a sense, and it's something that like we talk about all the time. So those interlocking concrete pavers Mike's referring to that have gaps in between them, technically water goes through the gaps. What the problem has been for that particular product or system is that those gaps clog up really easily. So that being said, I mean, we definitely see a market for our technology in pavers, but the much bigger impact is going to be on bigger pours, pour in place, again, roadway shoulders, sidewalks, alleyways, parking lots. I think that's definitely going to be the bigger impact play. But there is still a market for a concrete paver that doesn't rely on gaps, that's super easy to maintain and sweep off, and actually, solve your stormwater issue right on site.
Okay, great. Here's something from Rootstock Rivers. Will it be possible to have access to AquiPor from my driveway? I'm building something on my 15-acre land in Texas, and would love to have this installed in the summer or fall of 26.
Reach out to me, Greg at AquiPor.com or info@AquiPor.com, and let's talk.
That's great. We've got some more questions here. How about how abundant are the materials you use for your mix? Is the supply domestic or foreign?
The supply is domestic. They're extremely abundant. One of the main ingredients in our proprietary mix is actually a mine tailing. And so we're talking potentially hundreds of millions of tons of this material that we have access to. So it's all domestic. And now there's another component of the mix that is not quite in that volume of abundance, but we have plenty, I would think, for the next 10 years, and then we are going to work on a much longer long-term contract for making sure we can supply 10, 15, 20 years into the future.
Let's see here. It's kind of a fun one. What additives are compatible with the AquiPor mix?
A lot of additives. The basic ones: air entrainment, plasticizer. This will make sense, I think, for people familiar with concrete. there are other admixtures, like we're actually testing out, for example, an antimicrobial admixture, which has some really interesting characteristics and might produce products that have, again, interesting use cases. But what we found is there's like really nothing that changes about a concrete mix and what you can use in the mix in terms of admixes. So, I mean, I'm sure there's more testing to do, and there's probably chemicals out there that don't play well with our stuff, but the basic ones we've used, and we actually have a use for them in everything that we make.
You know, there's somebody here has 12 questions, so we're going to go with one of them.
Okay.
And have you evaluated exposure for product failure, drainage issue, or improper installation?
Yes, improper installation is the one that scares us the most, and it's another reason we want to be very, very close, especially on the first pilots, to the people that are A, making the concrete that uses AquiPor inside, and B, actually installing, pouring and finishing the concrete. We're going to be extremely close to those first projects because that's a real thing, right? And this might answer other questions. A lot of times people ask, well, can I get, 1,000 square feet of pavers for my patio or my driveway or, portion of my residence and just send them to us? And although that's tempting, it's like there's probably a big order list. I know I have, a running list of those project opportunities. What's scary about that is you don't know who's installing it, and a bad install will make any product, no matter how great it is, look horrible. And so that's something we think about and talk about all the time. And then what was the other first part of the question?
Oh, hold on, let me see. Let me find it real quick here. Evaluated exposure to product failure and drainage issues. So
Yeah.
they're thinking in terms of like product liability.
Yeah, we definitely think long and hard about that.
I guess we've got, we actually have some new people in here, so maybe just remind them what AquiPor is and where we're raising money and stuff real quick, and then
Yeah.
I'll find some more questions.
Yeah, for those of you just joining, thanks for joining. We're in the Q&A session. I gave a quick update earlier on a big pour in place demonstration we did. Basically getting or being asked to write a spec for one of the largest cities on the West Coast, and then our introduction or acceptance into a very prominent clean tech startup incubator. So I went through all that. Now we're kind of answering questions that everyone has. But if you're new to AquiPor, we've developed a concrete technology. It's like a fine powder admix that goes into normal concrete mixes and makes that concrete porous and permeable without sacrificing any strength and durability. We're raising money currently on Start Engine, so you can go to startengine.com/AquiPor and you'll learn all about the company, the technology, our business model, and really what our plans are. So,
Great. A question here is, I would be interested in porous retaining walls for agricultural applications. How is blockage of the porosity prevented with fine soil or airborne particles?
oh my goodness, please reach out after this to greg@aquapor.com or info@aquapor.com. We want to talk about this. This is a super interesting use case for us. And to answer your question, for one, a porous retaining wall or K-rail, what it's going to do, it's going to relieve some of that hydrostatic pressure that can be problematic with just traditional retaining walls. But the pore size throughout our material is so small that it'll actually block total suspended solids and particulates from getting into the concrete. And so it's almost like a concrete filter. There are some huge potential use cases for exactly what you're talking about. When we were in Los Angeles, they are very interested in looking at this as K-rail or jersey barriers for burn scars in the Palisades. And so when they get a big rain event or even a medium rain event, they are at risk of like serious mudslides. And you have all that debris and ash and all those things that they have to actually obviously keep out of the waterways. And so we're talking about a use case for that, but we would love to talk to you about your idea, because I think that's going to be a product that can have a lot of real world value.
Okay, great. Just a quick question that just came in. Just, would you ever have to repave?
Yeah, potentially. And it depends where you're at. I think use Spokane as an example, because that's where we live. They are always repaving the roads, and it's like that's normal concrete and normal asphalt that gets beat up over the course of winter. And so nothing's immune, I think, to rapid freeze thaw. It doesn't matter what kind of product you have. So in those type of climates, yeah, there probably over time have to be some repaving. I wish we could solve like every single issue known to mankind when it comes to concrete, but I can't say that yet. So you can assume that.
Great. We have a few more questions here. Okay. Will you have a nationwide network for local delivery of private orders?
We would love to. I mean, that's a big goal of ours. So yes, the answer is yes. Now, the timing of that is unknown, but that's definitely part of our model.
Great. I think we've got a few more questions, and I've kind of tried to save more financially relevant ones. Will there be other future rounds to also invest?
There will be. There will be. Timing of which I'm not certain on, but I can foresee us probably doing another crowdfund campaign. That might be later, spring of 2026. Valuation and price per share and all that to be determined. But yes, we have plans to do that.
Here's one that just popped in on YouTube. Are there studies with sealing your material and how it reacts to sealers?
You don't want to seal our material. We haven't done extensive studies on that, but and we probably should, but we just kind of assume that you don't want to seal it. You want actual, water to go through and permeate, at least through the surface.
Right. Well, that brings another good question here is, can you finish trowel the surface smooth, or does that close up the pores?
You can finish trowel it smooth, but that's an awesome question. It does actually close up the pores. So that cream layer of cement paste will slow down the permeability. And so you can trowel it. There's probably better ways to finish it, and you definitely need to finish it with an etch of some sort. Even a water etch can work, an acid etch for bigger applications, roadways and stuff, probably a sandblast, but you do want to finish it, and that will open up the permeability rate even more.
Another question here. Any timetable on going public or being bought out?
No particular timetable. I have had a couple interesting conversations recently with an investment bank that, let's just say, has given me a lot more information on, what a potential exit strategy via the public markets would look like. And so I'm gathering information, and it's always good to know, but no real timetable. It could happen fast, or it could happen over time. I guess right now the main focus is the growth of the company, sustainable growth that can then be supercharged, once we start getting pilots in the ground and we have partnerships set up. And that's really our main focus right now. And then I think the potential exit strategies will take care of themselves.
I think we've got some people that might have just popped in and didn't hear some of the first questions. So, but we got somebody asking, will dirt and debris plug the pores?
Yeah, dirt and debris will not. An earlier question kind of alluded to this. We actually just got third-party data back from an engineering firm that showed our material actually filters out 97% of all superfine particulate matter in stormwater. And so I'll do an announcement on this too, and Bill remind me, we should blast this out because it's a big deal. This is representative of really a first of its kind in permeable paving to be able to claim that now that we have third-party data. It's a really big deal. Now, with that, the next step, the next test this engineering firm is going to do, so we have all this debris on the paver. I have a picture that they showed me where they tried to clog it, and it's still infiltrating water. The effluent water, 97% of everything was filtered at the surface. They're going to vacuum sweep it and see what our infiltration rate goes back to, and so that's going to be really important data for us.
Okay, great. I think we're kind of nearing the end here, so folks, if you have any questions on YouTube, please enter them in there. And then we have, let's see, I'm trying to see if we've got one here. Can you give an outlook of goals for the 2026-27, such as point of concepts, contracts, or interested prospects?
Yeah, absolutely. So big goal for 2026, really on the front end of the year, is to get our first sizable pilot contract, a paid pilot it can be with a city, and that's kind of where we're going. I think that's what we're looking at, is a municipal type pilot contract. And then the other piece of that is scaling up our manufacturing capacity. So we've developed a really good site plan. There's equipment we'll need to bring in. We'll probably have to add headcount, so add some employees, and then really scale up how much we're producing. And then the third piece of that, like another big goal for next year, is to get into partnerships, okay, with concrete companies, whether that's on the ready mix side, or precasters, and start developing those partnerships and those relationships, which then will lead into, I think, licensing arrangements. And then, of course, like the big goal, obviously, is to grow, continue to increase and grow revenues for the next 12 months.
Okay, cool. Let's see here.
These are all good questions,
yeah,
by the
they
way,
are.
everyone.
Zach just asked it, but he said, he goes, I'm building a startup, and I think you guys would be a great fit for our projects. How do we find out about partnerships?
Yeah, just reach out, Zach. We are totally open to that. And in fact, with this incubator, this clean tech incubator, there's a couple startups in our cohort that are already talking to us about collaborating on some pilots. So we are wide open to that. We'd love to talk.
Okay.
If you've got a good idea and we can help you, we would love to do it.
I think that basically covers most of the questions that I'm seeing here. Maybe just kind of a recap, and we'll sign off.
Yeah. Well, recap for one, great questions, everyone. You can reach us anytime, by the way, at info@AquiPor.com. You can reach me directly at greg@AquiPor.com. So anytime you have questions, ideas, feedback, we're an open book. And in fact, we get a lot of good ideas from our followers and investors and the crowd in general. So we're always open to that. 2026 is shaping up to be a big year. It's a really important year. I'm super proud of all the progress we made this last year. So big shout out to the team, Bill, Jason, Josh, Kevin, like everyone that's been working on this, all the boys in the shop. This has taken like a team effort, and we're still a small team, but being able to get done what we've gotten done to get us to the point where product is ready to be commercialized. We're getting in the door with big municipalities and contractors and developers. I think everything's looking really good. So now it's all about strategy and execution in 2026. And then lastly, the financing piece is super, super important. So any of you that are on this call that have invested, I am so grateful, and the whole team is, for like every dollar that's come in, it goes to work right away. And so the crowdfunding has been like a vehicle that has really helped really accelerate the development of the technology and the markets around this. So, if you haven't invested and you're interested, you can ask us any questions. You can go to the Start Engine page. Again, it's startengine.com/AquiPor. And we're just gearing up like for a very, very important year, and one that I think is going to take off for us. So I want to thank you all. Happy holidays that are coming up. And again, reach out anytime. We're an open book. We'd love to hear from you. Bye.